What's up, Celtics Nation? It's game night again, and the Garden energy is already buzzing. The Boston Celtics are back on the court, taking on the New York Knicks, and you can just feel that mix of anticipation and nerves in the air. Friday night basketball, under the bright lights, and this time it's streaming on Prime. Yeah, the same app where you buy laundry detergent now gives you live hoops. Blake Griffin is in the studio tonight, which honestly just adds another layer of nostalgia to the vibe. So grab your snacks, settle in, and let's break down what's really at stake for the Celtics tonight. Let's start with the obvious. That opener against the 76ers left a weird taste. It was one of those games where you could see flashes of brilliance, but the execution just slipped away in the final minutes. Boston dropped it by a single point, and as frustrating as that is, there were still plenty of encouraging signs, especially from Mimikata. The big man was an absolute spark plug. 17 points, 8 rebounds in just 25 minutes, and he shot 7 for 8 from the field. That's efficiency. That's hustle. That's someone who wants to prove he belongs. And what I liked most wasn't just the numbers. It was the way he carried himself. Confident, assertive, ready to bang down low, but also smart enough to make the right rotations. Sure, his defense still needs some tightening up, but it was one of those performances that makes you say, okay, we've got something here. Now, the question is, can he build on that? Because tonight, he's going to get a completely different challenge. Philadelphia was one thing, slow, physical, predictable. The Knicks? They're built different. Jalen Brunson is not the same kind of guard as Tyrese Maxey or VJ Edgecombe, who just cooked Boston for a combined 74 points. Brunson plays with a surgeon's patience. He's not all speed and chaos. He's methodical, he probes, he reads the floor. And that might actually work in Boston's favor if the defense can stay disciplined. This is where Derek White comes into play. Remember, this is the guy who led the league in blocks by a guard last season, a guy who should have been all defense again. He got the instincts. He's got the timing. But the team needs him to lock in more on that side of the floor. And here's where it gets tricky. Derek White's offensive workload has gone up. He's being asked to handle the ball more, take 13 to 17 shots a game, create plays, distribute, and that eats into your defensive energy. We've seen it happen before. Luka Doncic, LeBron James, even De'Aaron Fox. When you're carrying that much offensive responsibility, it's hard to give 100% defensively every possession. It's human. But for the Celtics to get back on track, they need Derek White to strike that balance again. Because when he's in full two-way mode, this team just feels different. Speaking of energy, the Celtics bench needs to wake up. Against the Sixers, it was way too quiet. Xavier Tillman gave them solid minutes. 4 points, 7 boards, a little bit of grit and movement that kept things alive. But beyond that, not much. Chris Boucher only played 16 minutes, which was surprising. There was some thought that he might even start alongside Brown, Pritchard, White, and Kata, but instead he came off the bench and barely got a rhythm going. He needs more touches, more freedom to crash the boards and stretch the floor. Josh Mine had 14 minutes of decent hustle, but again, not enough offensive punch. When your second unit combines for 12 points, that's not going to cut it, especially if the starters aren't hitting from deep. And speaking of shooting, let's talk about those threes. 11 for 43. That's 25% from downtown. That's not just cold. That's Ice Age numbers. And it stings even more when you remember all the talk from training camp. All offseason, we heard that the Celtics are going to play fast, run the floor, turn games into track meets. That Missoula wanted a pace that would make opponents dizzy. Fast breaks, quick triggers, transition threes. It was supposed to be organized chaos. And then they come out and play like the 24th slowest team in the league. That's not what we were promised. That's not the energy they built their off-season identity around. Now, some of that is on personnel. Jason Tatum naturally slows the pace down, and that's fine because he's an elite half-court playmaker. But when Tatum's not on the floor, this team should be flying. There's enough young legs, enough ball handlers, enough shooting to push tempo. Instead, they fell into a rhythm that looked stagnant and unsure. You can see the hesitation, guys second-guessing when to attack. overpassing, forcing tough looks late in the clock. That's the kind of stuff that gets you beat by 1 point. And look, the Knicks are coming in hot. They just took down the Cavaliers, and they'll be looking to make a statement early in the season by knocking off another Eastern Conference giant. Their starting five is no joke. OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, Brunson, and possibly Karl-Anthony Towns, if he's healthy enough to go. Now, Towns has that quad strain, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he sits. But whether he plays or not, Boston has to be ready to run. That's their advantage. You can't let New York dictate the tempo. You can't let Brunson control the clock and grind it down possession by possession. If the Celtics get caught in a half-court slugfest, they're in trouble. So here's the formula. Pace, movement, transition. Force turnovers, push the ball, and create early looks before the Knicks can get their defense set. If Towns does play, test that leg early. Make him move, make him rotate, make him defend on the perimeter. Kata's going to have to work harder tonight than he did against Embiid because Towns can stretch the floor and pull bigs out of the paint. That's going to open driving lanes for Brown and White, but it also means Kata's rotations have to be razor sharp. You can't leave shooters open on the weak side. You can't let Brunson snake into that mid-range spot where he's lethal. This is one of those games where discipline and speed have to coexist. And while we're at it, the Celtics have to find their rhythm from deep again. You're not going to win many games shooting 25% from three when your entire system is built around spacing and pace. The offense looked too hesitant. Guys catching, thinking, then shooting. That's not Boston basketball. When they're at their best, it's quick decisions, one extra pass, corner threes falling like dominoes. Maybe the Sixers' defense had something to do with it, but still, this team needs to impose its style instead of reacting to the opponent. Look, it's still early. One game doesn't define anything, but you can already feel that the margin for error this season is thinner than before. This roster isn't as deep defensively as it once was, so they can't afford to waste winnable games. When you lose one you should have closed out, you've got to steal one back on the road against a team like New York. That's the task tonight. The Knicks are favored by a few points, but odds don't mean much if Boston plays its brand of basketball. The kind that suffocates teams with energy, not just talent. The matchup inside is going to tell us a lot. Can Kata handle Towns on the perimeter without giving up easy lanes? Can the Celtics' wings contain Bridges and OG while keeping Brunson out of rhythm? And can that second unit finally give the starters some relief? Because if Boston can't get instant offense from the bench, those long scoring droughts are going to keep coming back to haunt them. And that's where someone like Boucher has to step up. He's got the length, the bounce, the experience. He just needs minutes and confidence. Same with Pritchard. He can change the pace in a heartbeat when he's aggressive. The guy can shoot, he can push the ball, and when he's attacking, everything opens up. It's just about trust. This rotation is still finding itself, but there's enough talent there to make things work. So as the Celtics get ready to tip off against the Knicks, there's a lot riding on energy, focus, and effort. The numbers from Game 1 don't lie, but they don't define this team either. If Boston can shake off that sluggish pace, tighten up defensively, and rediscover their rhythm from beyond the arc, they'll be fine. They've got the tools. They've got the motivation. Now, they just need to put it all together on the floor. Because for all the talk about potential, about running faster and playing freer, it's time to see it. Enough of the preseason promises and training camp soundbites. Tonight's the night to show that this Celtics team isn't just talented on paper. They're ready to fight, to adjust, and to prove that the green still runs deep. And while the spotlight tonight is on Boston and New York, there's no denying that the league has been dealing with a wave of chaos off the court. The last 24 hours have been wild, with names from around the NBA popping up in headlines for all the wrong reasons. It started with a simple alert on social media: Terry Rozier arrested. Then, before people even finished reading the details, came reports about Chauncey Billups and Damon Jones being involved in separate investigations. You could almost hear fans across the league saying, "Wait, what is happening right now?" It felt surreal, like something straight out of a crime drama, instead of the NBA world we know. The reports coming from the Department of Justice sound more like the plot of a Hollywood movie than real life. Illegal poker rings, mafia connections, inside information being traded for bets. It's the kind of stuff that makes you stop and wonder just how deep it all goes. For Chauncey Billups, the story seems particularly heavy. The documents describe a situation where information about tanking and player availability may have been shared before becoming public. When you see the words co-conspirator next to a timeline that matches his playing and coaching career, it's hard not to feel stunned. The description literally matches him, and the alleged events point to a game between the Trail Blazers and the Bulls where inside details about resting players were passed along. And look, maybe in another world, that sounds harmless. Coaches tell friends things all the time. But when your friend is connected to illegal gambling and high-stakes poker circles, it's no longer a casual conversation. It becomes something that shakes the integrity of the league. The NBA has spent years distancing itself from the ghosts of scandals past, and now this lands like a thunderclap right at the start of the season. What makes it worse is how intertwined everything seems. It's not just betting or poker. It's both worlds colliding, with familiar faces caught in the middle. For fans, it's confusing and disappointing. These are names people grew up watching, players who were once seen as leaders and examples. Terry Rozier, a guy who fought for every inch during his Celtics days, suddenly being linked to betting investigations. It's heartbreaking for those who admired his journey. Damon Jones, remembered for his time alongside LeBron, now part of a headline that no one ever wanted to see. The tone around the league has shifted overnight from preseason optimism to anxious whispers. The NBA's statement so far hasn't done much to calm the storm. The league acknowledged the arrests, mentioned the coaches being placed on leave, and then moved on as if that would be enough. But fans aren't buying it. Everyone's waiting to see how Adam Silver responds, because this might be the biggest integrity test since the Donald Sterling saga. The difference is, this time it's not about words or ownership behavior. It's about the credibility of the game itself. When people start questioning whether outcomes are clean, everything else crumbles. And that's what makes this moment so fragile. The NBA has leaned hard into the entertainment era, betting partnerships, real-time odds, in-game prop talk, all wrapped around the product. It brings in massive money, yes, but it also opens doors for temptation. Players, coaches, even staff members are constantly surrounded by this world now. One bad decision, one leaked conversation, one misunderstood relationship, and suddenly, it's an FBI investigation. Fans are used to drama on the court, but this kind of off-court noise hits differently. It's serious, it's criminal, and it puts the league under a magnifying glass. But before we continue, please remember to subscribe to the channel and give the video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest news about the Boston Celtics. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. And what could be the most shocking shakeup of the NBA offseason? Whispers are swirling that Brandon Ingram has officially severed ties with the Toronto Raptors and, even more astonishingly, is rumored to be heading to the Boston Celtics. Sources close to the situation suggest that discussions between Ingram's camp and the Celtics front office have been quietly heating up over the past few weeks, with the potential deal keeping the league buzzing with speculation. The Raptors, who have long relied on Ingram's scoring versatility and playmaking, reportedly tried to negotiate a new long-term arrangement, but the two sides couldn't find common ground. Insiders claim that Ingram, seeking a team with championship ambitions and a strong supporting cast, began exploring other destinations, sparking immediate interest from Boston, who are rumored to see him as a key piece to complement their existing stars. Boston fans are already buzzing on social media, dissecting possible lineups and imagining the havoc a healthy Ingram could wreak on the Celtics offense. His ability to stretch the floor, attack the rim, and create plays could provide the Celtics with the flexibility they've been craving. Meanwhile, the Raptors' locker room is said to be in a state of quiet shock as teammates struggle to process the abrupt departure of one of their marquee talents. While no official announcement has been made from either franchise, NBA insiders suggest that the deal could be finalized sooner rather than later. Rumors indicate that the Celtics may be offering a combination of draft picks and young talent in exchange, a package designed to balance the loss of future assets while bringing in immediate scoring firepower. Analysts are already speculating about how this move could reshape the Eastern Conference hierarchy, with Boston suddenly looking like an even more formidable threat. If true, this would mark a dramatic turning point in Ingram's career, taking him from a promising star in Toronto to a high-profile contender in Boston. Fans and pundits alike are holding their breath, wondering if this gamble will pay off or if it will end up being another blockbuster trade that leaves the league divided. The NBA rumor mill is ablaze, and the coming days promise more leaks, whispers, and perhaps the confirmation of one of the most unexpected moves of the season. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Boston Celtics, please subscribe to our channel and give the video a like. We always appreciate your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.